Friends, more than 20 years have passed since the release of the legendary Half-Life 2, a game that completely changed how many of us saw video games. I was one of those players. Ever since I first played Half-Life 2, it's been my all-time favorite. No other game since has managed to impress me quite like it did. To me, Half-Life 2 became the definition of a perfect game, a true example of a video game art at its finest. And no, this isn't a review or a deep dive into Half-Life 2. This is a nostalgic journey that I invite you to take with me as we look back at the legacy of this legend and remember the feelings it gave us the very first time we played it.
It's been 5 years. It looks like hell. Wow.
This is the Half-Life 2 tech demo from E3 2003, where Valve showcased an incredible level of graphical realism, detailed environments, lifelike facial animations, the kind of stuff that at the time was only possible in Hollywood movies. And then there were the groundbreaking physics powered by the revolutionary Source engine, something the gaming industry had never seen before. The audience literally gasped and burst into applause because nobody could believe what they were seeing. Barrels rolling inertly after being shot. Clumsy Gordon.
Oh, do be careful.
The fact that you could manually barricade a door to hide from the Combine. Blinds shaking widely under gunfire. People were amazed that you could use the gravity gun to rip a hidden pipe off the wall and hurl it at an enemy. Crash Combine soldier with a bundle of metal beams by shooting down the support cable. Or toss a grenade under a dumpster just to watch it collapse onto your opponents. They marveled at the realistic shockwave of explosions, the physics of bodies. But people weren't just shocked by the actions themselves. They were amazed by how realistically everything behaved, because one action affected another, creating a chain of physical consequences. The hidden pipe didn't just kill a Combine, it also smashed into a soda machine, sending cans rolling down the stairs. The metal beams didn't just drop in a scripted way and stop. They kept swinging inertly, almost hitting Gordon himself later if he hadn't ducked. The physics in Half-Life 2 were like a domino effect, a butterfly effect, where one small action could trigger a whole chain of unpredictable events. It wasn't just Hollywood-style scripted destruction, it was a fully interactive living world where every physical object had its own behavior and interacted with others. And when Half-Life 2 finally released, it didn't just blow players away with its physics or realistic graphics, and it didn't just redefine first-person shooters, it went on to influence countless other games far beyond its own genre. Half-Life 2 became the gold standard for the industry. Even today, it stands as the prime example of masterful storytelling in games, a deep and multifaceted universe, and truly incredible, meticulously crafted level design. I still remember it like it was yesterday, the moment my eyes nearly popped out when I first ran Half-Life 2. And no, it wasn't back in 2004. I had more important things to do back then. I had just started first grade. The first time I played Half-Life 2 was in 2011. But hey friends, let's make a deal. After I tell you my story of how I discovered Half-Life 2, you'll share yours in the comments, alright? So yeah, I first played Half-Life 2 in 2011, when my parents bought my sister a laptop for studying, and me being a little troublemaker, used to secretly play games on it during weekends. I played GTA San Andreas, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Counter-Strike, and a bunch of other random games whose names I can't even remember now. And it all started with Counter-Strike Source, a game my cousin brought me on a flash drive. I really liked Counter-Strike Source, but I got bored of it pretty quickly, since I've always preferred story-driven games over simple shooting matches. So one day I wanted to try something new, but I didn't really have any other games to play. And replaying the same ones over and over and over again had already gotten gotten boring. So I plugged that flash drive with Counter-Strike source back into the laptop, thinking maybe my cousin put something else on it and I just didn't notice. And it turns out he did. Inside the Counter-Strike source folder, there was another game installer. Apparently, before Counter-Strike source started selling as a standalone game, it used to come bundled with Half-Life 2. So the version on my flash drive was that exact bundle, and Half-Life 2 was quietly hiding there, buried in a folder next to Counter-Strike source, until I finally noticed that logo. That was it, the game that would forever change how I saw video games. And I was blown away by absolutely everything in Half-Life 2. The graphics, the sound and art design, the music, the way the story was told, the realistic environments, the gameplay, all of it. I still remember how back in 2011 I couldn't believe that Half-Life 2 had actually come out in 2004. My friend and I were convinced it was like a 2010 game at the earliest, until we saw in the intro that it was from 2004. As for the story, of course I didn't understand all of its details back then, all the subtle genius storytelling. Honestly, I didn't understand 90% of what was happening on the screen. At the beginning, some strange man in a suit appears and tells you it's time to wake up. There is no map, no list of objectives, nothing. And that immediately hooked me, because I had never seen anything like that before. There were no cutscenes or characters to deliver the story's exposition. I entered the world of Half-Life 2 knowing just a little about the universe as Gordon himself, or to be more accurate, Mr. Freeman, learning bits and pieces about what was going on from random people on the streets and some guy talking on a TV. Even the fact that the main character's name was Gordon, we only find that out later from some dude named Barney. That level of immersion and mystery is something I have never felt in any other game since. I remember stepping out into the city square for the first time and seeing that massive tower piercing the sky, that huge tripod-like robot as tall as a building. And amid all the futuristic atmosphere, I was stunned by how much the city reminded me of my hometown Lviv in Ukraine. It was mind-blowing, an explosion of imagination. And as a teenager who was used to shooters that immediately hand you a gun and tell you to go shoot things, I was amazed by how slowly and patiently this game introduced me to its world. But what shocked me the most was that 13-year-old me didn't quit after 5 minutes of not understanding what was going on. Instead, he wanted to keep going, to figure out what it was all about. I also remember how absolutely blown away I was by the interactivity and realism of the environment, the way you could actually interact with objects. Remember when I finally got my hands on a pistol and that first shootout started on the railway tracks? I was amazed by the level of detail. Bullets piercing through wooden boards, combined soldiers being thrown by exploding barrels, blood splattering on the walls, glass shattering realistically. I was amazed that in the root canal chapter you could break structures almost everywhere and even see bullet trails underwater. I remember how those physics-based puzzles amazed me and at the same time completely confused me. Some of them literally took me 40 minutes to figure out. Those cursed blue barrels and that bridge. I'll never forget the shock when I got the airboat and was chased by a helicopter. How the tower was collapsing. How everything exploded and falling apart around me. I remember how my jaw nearly hit the floor when I reached Ravenholm. How brilliantly the game shifted its tone into full-on horror when just 10 minutes earlier we were shooting down a combine chopper. Then I was stunned by the gravity gun when I realized I could pick up a circular saw blade and slice zombies in half with it. That was insane. And I still remember that feeling of relief when I finally escaped the Ravenholm mines, stepped out to the surface and heard that music. Then came Highway 17 chapter, those open areas I explored with delight, that massive bridge, the scenery, that beautiful instrumental that sent chills down my spine. I remember using Ferobots to command an army of antlions, and in the Fall of Freeman chapter being chased by a strider, and once again that music playing in the background. I was amazed by how unique and creative the level design was, how varied the gameplay felt, how smoothly it adapted to every situation. Sure, back then I didn't know the right words to describe any of this. I couldn't properly explain what I was feeling, but deep down I understood it all, because I just couldn't tear myself away from the game. And that sound design, so full and alive, and the incredible music that perfectly matched the tone of every moment and every location. It honestly felt like I was there, right inside the game. I remember thinking back then, I wonder how many other games like this exist. As it turns out, there really aren't any. Because in the industry, there's no other game where the story, the way it's told, the characters, the world building, the atmosphere, the physics, the sound, art and level design and the gameplay itself all come together on such an insanely high level of quality. There's always something that stands out more in every game, and that's not a bad thing. It's just how most games are made. Some put more focus on gameplay, others on atmosphere or on story and characters. There are games that do 1, 2, maybe even 4 of these things really well, but there's always 1 or 2 aspects that feel a bit weaker or simply get less attention. That's exactly why Half-Life 2 is so unique, because everything about it is great. And what's even more impressive, I'm saying this about a game that's more than 20 years old. Of course, you might not agree with some of my points, and that's totally fine. We all experience games differently, but the fact remains. Half-Life 2 might just be the greatest game ever made. It's just that very few people are willing to admit it. And trust me, that's not the 13-year-old kid in me talking. It's kind of like if you started your movie journey with Breaking Bad, and then spent your whole life trying to find something that hits you the same way. There might be a few contenders that come close to that level of brilliance, but come on, we all know Breaking Bad is the greatest TV show ever made. It's the same story with Half-Life 2. It sets such an unbelievably high standard in my mind for what a video game can be, that ever since then I've been trying to find something that would make me feel the same way again. But as I grew older, I realized that's impossible. Yes, there are tons of amazing games out there, true masterpieces of the industry, but there is Half-Life 2.